Really require the
Well,
council.
Yeah.
Lots of times I sign those or the mayor signs it, whichever. And it's kind of just a.
Form letter they had the mayor.
No, you
for the
bet,
council.
you bet.
Remember,
Should be great. And like I said, I think it's a really great location.
I'll bet that's because there's lots of different,
Form.
form of government. I think we could modify the forms.
Okay.
We'll give Tyler just a minute.
Modify the form.
He was grabbing something for us. And
Okay.
then we'll start.
Okay, I'll go to my other meeting. Yeah. Yes. Hi. You want me to- I'm gonna help these cities meeting at the convention around the corner. Okay. If they showed up. Okay.
No, I don't. I can't.
Hey, Bob, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight and wanting to meet your Providence Planning Commission. And we're excited to have everybody here. And so I welcome you out. I'd like to call our meeting to order, and I would like to introduce the commission members. We have to my right, Shelley Nazer, and then Bob Hinkie, Brian Marble, myself, Michael Fortune. To my left, Tyler Riggs, Bob Washburn, and slow walking it here is Joe Chambers.
To the far left.
To the very far left. But we're great to have everybody here. We have a full group tonight. We have 7 up here with us. 2 are alternates, Bob Washburn and Bob Hinkie. And so the members will be voting members, and our alternates, we'll look for them for their input and thoughts and go from there. So I'd like to invite everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would. And I will lead us tonight. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move right along. And our first item of business is a review of the minutes from our December 14th meeting. So as you look at that, or if you've had a chance already to do that, is there any comments or corrections anybody saw that we would need to take a look at and address?
I wasn't here, so I plan to abstain from voting. I just wanted to point out just a couple corrections. Line 78 indicated that he was 100, so 100 or 100%. And then line 84, parties discussed exactions, and Joe Chambers referenced and exaction. I think it should probably just be corrected to and. That's all that I found, so I just want to thank you, Ty, for your hard work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Shelley. Anybody, any other items?
Good to me.
Okay, good. I would entertain a motion, if somebody's ready to make that, that we accept our minutes.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as with the suggested correction for the Planning Commission meeting of December 14th, 2022.
Second it.
Have a motion by Tyler Riggs to accept it, and a second by Brian Marble. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? minutes are approved with those couple of corrections. All right. We are going to open briefly for public comments. If we have, now, if you're here for one of the items, I'd ask that you wait for that. This is an opportunity for anybody to come and ask questions, make a comment in regarding to anything that pertains to the planning zoning here in Providence. Do we know if we had anybody email anything in?
Hi, does that one go with public or is that a?
Yeah, we did have a comment that was emailed in regarding item number 3 tonight, if you want me to read it or if you want me to save it for a later date. But yeah, this one did come in for item number 3.
If it's for that, I would say let's wait for that. I got one message that came directly to me, so just a few minutes ago, just before the meeting started. So let me just, I invited them to contact in through the city and stuff. But it says, won't be able to do it tonight. Just have a question on a potential rezone. So, okay.
And the rezone is number item 3.
I think it's on something for themselves.
Oh.
It says, in one of your perspective. So, okay. So I don't think we've got something there, and I'll follow up with them and then direct them to the right place. So, okay. If there's nothing from anywhere else, no emails, no calls, no text, we will close the public comments of the meeting and move on to our public hearing. This is for item number 1. It's the Providence Springs 55+ Cluster Development Special Review Public Hearing. The Providence City Planning Commission will take questions and comments from the public regarding a special review request of an applicant requesting front porches be allowed to extend 6 feet into the front setbacks. The development has a minimum front setback of 20 feet. So, do we have, you guys are here representing the developers, right? Danny, you're here for yours, I believe. So, I don't know that we have anybody else here. Hi, any comments or anything from that?
No, I've not received anything.
Okay. With that, and with no public input.
Do you mind if I ask just what type of publication went out on that?
Sure, you bet. You bet. Sure.
Yes, so we posted at our building, the post office and Macy's. We put it on our website and then we put it on the Utah State Notice website.
Was there anything at the property? Like the sandwich board, the sign for neighbors?
No, there's nothing there at the property, no.
Okay, so this was a public hearing for that. We could look to we'll review it later, but the public would still have a chance to come back if for some reason there was something else down the road. Is that correct? Or if we take some action? does
Your
that
next
move forward?
action could approve or disapprove of that action.
Okay.
And if you choose to do that action, although the public may have a referendum right, it would be unusual for them to do anything at that point. So this is probably the opportunity that has been set aside for that.
Tyler, just for the record, the things that were done for this item is pretty much what we do for every item.
Correct, yeah.
I know we've done the sandwich boards before.
I do that for rezones.
Yep. but
Um,
not for-
I didn't
Just
know
outright.
this was a special review.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Well, if there's no other comments or nobody has any objections, I would say that we would close the public hearing portion. Do I need to have a motion for that, or can I just do it?
You can close it.
It's unbridled authority. Okay.
Yeah, that's Brian first. It's leave the fee on there.
All right. With that being said, we will close the public hearing portion of the meeting, and we'll move. We have no legislative action to take tonight, and we will move on to the administrative action items. This is item number 2 On our agenda, it is again the Providence Springs 55 Plus Cluster Development Special Review. The Providence City Planning Commission will review, consider, and may take action on a special review for porches in the front setbacks for Providence Springs 55 Plus Cluster Development. We have, as a part of our packet, was the development agreement. Scarlett, is there information you'd like to share with us about that?
This is the same information that we discussed. There were no changes made. So I know that as part of that discussion, the developer was going to reconsider some of the floor layout and see if he could absorb some of it in that. So, but none of that is included in here because
Okay.
nothing was resubmitted since that time. So
All right.
this is the same exact information.
Okay. Anybody, any questions for Scarlett? If we all remember this before, we discussed it pretty well. Okay, thank you, Scarlett.
Thank you.
I would invite you to come on up, and if you would state your name again. Record there.
I'm Jody Robbins. I'm the developer of Providence Springs 55. I guess to dive back into it, I'm asking that we allow the front porches to extend into that front setback. I took your guys' feedback from our last meeting and would like to request that the front porches extend 4 feet into the front setback. That 4 feet would allow us, would make it so the buildings were 70 feet from each other across the street. I went around, went on the plat viewer and found interesting things, and then went out and physically measured. Providence City has allowed buildings to be 67 feet apart in the vineyards, single family buildings across the private road, and this is a private road. So those houses are actually closer together than what we're asking for, with the porches extending 4 feet into the front right of way. The condos at the vineyards were 64 feet apart. The visionary townhouses behind Macy's were about 40 feet apart. Cobblestone is about 68 feet between houses. So I'm not asking for something that isn't already allowed on private roads. The benefit of what I'm asking for is it actually makes our driveways 22 feet, which is 4 feet longer than what the minimum that Providence City requires on these private roads. So we kind of get longer driveways, which that's the bottleneck of houses being close together is the driveway. So that's actually going to be 78 feet from garage to garage in our development if you allow the front porches to extend 4 feet into that front setback. And if you would like, I can go through the list of other reasons that we like it.
I don't think we need to. If anybody on the commission will have some questions.
I would like to clarify, because uncovered porches are allowed to extend 4 feet. So I don't want somebody listening to this thinking, why has he got to come and ask that? That's already allowed.
Uncovered porches.
Uncovered. These are
These are
covered
covered.
porches. I just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
Perfect, thank you, sir. The question I had for you, Jody, is, you were originally looking at 6, you've shrunk it to 4. Are you doing anything, are you cutting 2 feet off the back or just making it smaller?
We're making it so it will still fit the setbacks on the back of the house. So we looked at cutting down the floor plans,
Yeah.
and with the 55 and older demographic, there's potential mobility issues and room size concerns. And with the floor plan, the main floor plan that we have for the 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a 3-car garage, we were unable to shrink that
Right.
down without adversely affecting the mobility potential within the house. So, but if we're able to extend 4 feet into that front setback, we won't, we're
You
fine
leave
with
the
that
houses
issue.
where they are. So you're doing something to the back that
No, the
stays the same?
back will still be 15 feet off of the property line or further.
Okay.
Did you mentioned the vineyards, did you want to consider rezoning this to LCR? Because we could fill up this whole room and have a discussion about it.
Well, if you guys recall, the reason I'm actually doing a 55 and older development is because of your input. It was the first time I came through here trying to get the single family high, the statement was made, if it was guaranteed to be a 55 and older development, we would be okay with that. So I listened, and we're a 55 and older development, and I honestly could not be more excited about it because I feel like we have a plan to create something that's truly going to be special for the residents of Providence.
Sounds good. Sounds very good. Anybody, any other questions for Jody?
I have one, but I can wait for others if they need to.
Well, it looks like you're up then.
So on page 6 of the report that we got, it, I don't know if it's gonna help, I'm losing my voice. Danny's back there smiling, that's not a loss for anybody, is it, Danny? So on it, the diagram I have shows a 15-foot setback to a 14-foot setback. All right, so basically you're changing that, so the one on the right, the 14, would be a 16-foot setback.
That's correct.
And what about 15-foot setback? Does that?
That would go to 17. So,
And then that, where I had to enlarge this up, but my eyesight, it says flower garden, so the circular area is not part of the porch, it's just a,
landscaping feature.
yeah. So how wide are the porches now,
The
your new proposal?
same width, it's exactly that, just slid back 2 feet. So we end up with a 16 feet from the tiny little area that pokes out the furthest, and that's purely architectural. It will be 16 feet to the right of way, and then the right of way, private roads have to be at least 30 feet. We went 38 feet with our right of way because we wanted a park strip instead of having the sidewalk directly next to the road. And so we're 38 feet of right of way and then 16 feet, which that's where you get your 70 feet. And like I say, the garage will be actually, I think I did my math wrong. It will actually be, no, that's right. Yeah, it'll be 78 feet.
22 and 22, and then you're 38.
Yep.
I have a question for staff.
Sure, absolutely.
So if this was a built project and they were seeking a variance of the setback, that would go to the Board of Adjustment.
To our variance officer.
It would have been the Board of Adjustments a long time ago, but now it's the Administrative Appeal Officer.
Okay.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, who's that?
Olson, Hogan, Seth Tate.
I think it's, yes, Olson and Hogan is the firm, and I think Steph is the representative for the
I
Administrative
was just
Appeal.
curious who it was. But because this is not a built project, the Planning Commission has the authority to
Because it's
vary
cluster
from the
development.
setback.
Actually, it's because he came in and asked for a cluster development rather than a standard PUD or a standard subdivision. Came in and asked for the cluster, which allows the Planning Commission to be able to make adjustments within, there's that laundry list that you can look at and consider, as long as it still maintains the the code, you can consider adjusting certain aspects.
Okay.
And that's the reason why special review, we did a special review back when we talked about the road width. And then well, as he did his design on the houses, he decided this porch thing was very important, so we're doing another special review on the porches because of the cluster development.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And I actually misspoke. I said 78 feet from garage to garage. It's actually 82 feet from garage to garage, which is 12 feet further than the minimum that is allowed in cluster developments.
All right. Anybody, anything else you'd like to ask Joey?
Actually, I have another question for staff. So what is the purpose of a setback as a public policy purpose for a setback? I'm just curious.
I'd like to give you one of those legal definitions back, and I'm not as quick off the cuff as you are, but it's like, we don't take the opinion of the reasons of why, we just do or die. It's what the rule is, and we're just established to tell you the rule. I don't know why all the reasons of why. I can tell you, we just tell you what the setbacks are. We can guess, and all of us can have, if we go down the line, we'd all have a different reason.
Well, I can imagine keeping buildings apart for fire would be one of them.
Yeah, but you figure you have 20 feet for a fire truck and you need that, and we have buildings side by side that are only set back 30 feet in the back or 15 feet on the sides or 70 feet in the front. So, I mean, you're right. We like to talk about that on side yards for sure. I would ask, we've talked about narrow roads. Now, I'm not looking to get wider roads, but look down the road, and is there a time that the development improves? Once we grow up, and you look at Logan's Main Street, and they've built back all the way to the building if it wasn't there to start with. Sometimes it might be for future growth. There's a lot of potential reasons, but ultimately, from the staff, we'll give you what it is.
Well, you raised an interesting issue because I've always liked Main Street with the setbacks that they have, but they went ahead and made a major exception for the Hampton Inn, which I don't understand because it's right there on the street, and it's very obvious that it sticks out like a sore thumb with the rest of the setbacks that are around it. So anyway, I was just wondering if there was, because
Maybe Squirrel has a better answer than that, but
I'm
I'm just here to tell you what the setbacks are.
going to concur with Ryan's answer. I thought we actually maybe had something in our setbacks for like purpose or something like that, but we do not. It's just what it is what it is. So
If we ever want a 78-foot road, it's hard to get those porches back off. I'm sorry, I don't know how better to answer that one.
78-foot road into a private development.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
So with this one, I mean, we don't have, the deputy fire marshal's opinion on this case. Would that be something that we would maybe want to consider?
As I mentioned, the buildings are still going to be as far apart as what's allowed in a private development had I done a narrower right of way. So they're already.
And we would have had the fire marshal. We would have had the fire marshal on side setbacks, and the road. If it were any less than 20 feet as a road width, then he'd say no. I mean, so there's things within inside of that. It's like a no for some of those kind of things. But it just happens to be one of those that doesn't go through that same process.
Because of what he's done, it's not necessary to have a fire marshal review.
Well, his houses will all meet fire code.
Right.
So as part of the building code, they'll all have to meet fire code.
Right. And they've been through a review side to side and there's a plat review.
Right. Okay.
An interesting thing about setbacks and fire code, you can build residential structures with 0 setbacks, as long as you build according to the code. So setbacks are important because you need that 20-foot road and you need some room to get around. But when it does come to structures and fire, the building code steps in or the fire code through the building code steps in, and that's what they have to build to if they're narrowing that distance up too narrow. So,
No, another reason why we do have some on corner lots is for sight,
mhm.
so that people can see another car coming. And so on corner lots, we usually have a protection there for sight view.
That's
We don't
like
want to,
triangle.
yeah. Right. So clear view, sight triangle kind of thing.
Jody, anything else you'd like to tell us about?
Just kind of real quick on your guys' finding at the bottom, it's, this does comply with the code requirements. I personally feel like it complies with the objective of the zoning, in creating visual quality as well as welfare for the community, where the whole reason we're doing this is to build that sense of community and those spontaneous interactions. It's compatible with the surrounding areas. The Mountain View development that is literally adjacent to it has, in the measurements I took, were 68 feet between houses, so I'm actually slightly further than that. And the physical features of the property, it's flat, so it works.
Okay.
So.
Sounds good. Thank you. I just had one quick question. Tyler, you're with him?
Yeah.
You didn't come to speak or say, okay.
No, just
All right. All right. Just wanted to make sure that you didn't leave anybody out. Okay. Thank you, Jody.
Thank you all.
I'll turn now to the commission members and for discussion amongst ourselves. What our feelings are about this, and is it what we would like to do?
I'm in favor of allowing it because it is a cluster development and it's aesthetically going to be enhancing the development. It is it's larger spacing between the houses. If spacing between the houses is a concern, it's greater than the neighborhood I live in. So, and I don't have a problem with the neighborhood I live in, so I don't know how I got a problem with this one. As long as it meets the code requirements, that it satisfies that number one, compliance with code requirements and applicable ordinances, then I can support it. So,
Okay. Thank you, Tyler.
I have a question, again, for staff. Would they need to submit an amended application where they've decided not to take the full 6 feet and decrease that?
No, they can do that as part of this meeting, especially since there was a public hearing notice. They can, and especially since they're going less than more. So they would not need to resubmit a new application.
But if you had a motion and to do it, you would include that change.
I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for compromising. I know sometimes it can be a big back and forth. So for taking the feedback and considering it and looking at your options, I want to say that I personally appreciate that. My opinion, I think that if uncovered porches are allowed, I mean, I think I would prefer a covered porch myself over a covered porch, and that the developer did compromise. So I would like to just state that I think that those are some positives for this application.
Thank you, Shelley. Well, in the rendering, the actual photos that you have of it, I think it does aesthetically improve the look of the building from the roads and those types of things. And maybe more people, because it's covered, would sit out front at times, and so forth.
Those are our thoughts.
Yep.
There is
Okay.
one other thing that I just want to state for the record is, or just, I guess, my opinion necessarily, is that the comparison or precedent isn't always the best measure for us to determine the decision. Sometimes mistakes have been made, or we see things in the real world and kind of determine that maybe that wasn't the best option, and we may, learn from those. So just for future purposes, that doesn't always mean that was the best decision or the best way that we want to see things.
Okay, thank you, Shelley. Any other comments from commission members? If there isn't, then I would entertain a motion.
Michael,
Yes,
just a reminder, in that motion, whoever makes it, if you would go down those 4 findings as
Right.
part of your motion.
okay,
And as Ryan said, if you would say that it's a
reduce down.
covered porch extending 4 feet into the setback. So
Okay,
I can make a try at this. Make a motion that we approve the special review development agreement for the Providence Springs 55+ cluster development, amending the plan to allow for covered porches to extend 4 feet into the front setback, recognizing that this would meet the criteria of compliance with code requirements, applicable ordinances, and/or regulations, is consistent with the purpose and objectives of the zoning regulations in that it doesn't violate any of our objectives. It is compatible with surrounding land uses. The character of the plan is aesthetically pleasing and fits in with surrounding neighborhoods and is compatible with physical features of the site. There's nothing on the land, the terrain that would impede or make this a hazard.
findings of fact and conclusions.
And inclusive of the conclusions of law, finding of fact, and conditions set forth in the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion.
I'll second that motion.
That was seconded by Shelley, needs a motion by Tyler. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Julie.
And thank you, Tyler. That was a mouthful.
All right. We will move on. And to item number 3, this is a study item. So what we're going to do tonight is take a look at the rezone of parcel number 02-092-0018. The Providence City Planning Commission will discuss a request from DLMAC LLC to rezone parcel 02-092-0018 from R112 to R16. And I would invite Scarlett up to give us a little bit more information about it, for staff feelings.
Okay. The applicant, as part of his application, submitted the following statement. His purpose and statement, he is DLMAC LLC is under contract to purchase parcel 02-092-0018. DLMAC LLC is requesting that the parcel be rezoned to single family high was our previous zoning term for it. It's now the R16 to allow more affordable lots. Single family homes will be built on these lots, and the smaller lot will allow for more affordable homes. There's similar zoning to the north and east. There are smaller lots in a multifamily zoning to the west. This zoning is similar to the surrounding development. And in summary, there are no non-developable sensitive areas or potentially developable sensitive areas on the property. 100 East contains sewer, water, power, and communication. That was taken from the developer's statement. Providence City As far as the staff review goes, we look at the general plan. We look at, for findings of fact, we look at Utah Code 109A505, which allows the legislative body to divide the city into zoning districts. We, whoops page. We also consider the Utah Code 109A302, which requires the planning commission to review and make a recommendation to the legislative body for amendments to the existing land use regulations. A zoning change is an existing land use regulation. And then before making a recommendation to the legislative body on an action item for land use regulation, the planning commission shall hold a public hearing. This is not the public hearing. This is just the study item for you to become familiar with the request, and then you can go do your homework and we can have the public hearing at a future meeting. We also look at our general plan. As I said earlier, we look at the requirements in our sensitive areas. We look at the uses so that you can see the difference between the uses for each zone, and we look at the area regulations, because really that's what zoning is all about, is the uses and the area regulations for a particular area. And so those are the things that you need to compare. In our conclusion, the city has divided the city into the zoning districts. The planning commission will hold a public hearing prior to making a recommendation. The city districts do include R112, which on the illustration here is SFT, and R16, which on the illustration is SSH. The general plan, vision, and key initiatives are listed in this report above the findings of fact. The property is currently zoned R112, and as you can see, the general plan anticipates that this property will remain R112. Having an absence of color on our future zoning map means that it's going to remain the same. We don't anticipate a change. Do keep in mind, general plans are general plans. They are not law, but it's important that we follow the general plan as closely as possible. The framework map indicates this parcel may have potential for neighborhood residential development, which is what this would be considered. It talks about the parks, our parks, trails, and recreation plan, talks about the parks. This particular property is within a half mile of 2 local parks, Brookside and Calico, 2 neighborhood parks, Ameline Hart and Uptown, and 1 regional park, Hollywood Park. It is within 1 mile of 2 local parks, Meadow Ridge and Jays Well, and 1 neighborhood park, Rager, and 1 regional park, Lawn Bear. So it's within, it's in a pretty good location as far as parks are considered. The transportation plan suggests this area of 100 East is a local road without limited access. And then our sensitive areas list the following areas as non-developable: jurisdictional wetlands, steep slopes, natural waterways, or open water. And then we have potentially developable areas, which are steep slopes, floodplains, crucial wildlife habitat areas identified by the State Division of Wildlife Resources, geological hazard areas, earthquake fault lines, or area prone to debris flows, landslides, high or extreme liquefaction potential, rock falls identified by the U.S. Geological Survey, and wildfire hazard areas. This property does not appear to have any non-developable or potentially developable areas as defined by Providence City Code. However, some neighboring properties have experienced groundwater levels within 12 feet of the natural grade, which City Code considers a hazard water table. Hazard water area can be developed, but may require mitigation. The use regulations, I included a use chart that compares the different uses. And then on the area regulations, I also included a chart that compares the 2 area regulations. In the use chart, the uses are almost identical. However, there are a couple uses that R16 is slightly more restrictive. They're not allowed in the R16 and they're allowed in the R112. The area chart is the one that has the differences. The minimum lot size, the minimum lot width, the maximum units per net acre, and the side yards. Those are where the differences are. The R112 is 12,000 square feet, minimum lot width is 95 feet, and the minimum side yard is 10 feet. In the R16, the minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet with a minimum lot width of 60 feet and a minimum side yard of 7.5 feet. In both districts, the units are single-family detached homes. The R112 district allows a maximum of 3.75 units per net acre, and the R16 allows a maximum of 5.5 units per net acre. And then there's an example that talks about the net acreage and how the units could be applied to it. As far as our condition goes, prior to making a recommendation to the City Council, the Planning Commission would hold a public hearing. The applicant needs to address any concerns in Aaron Walker's letter dated 12/29, comments from other staff members, if any, and comments from the Planning Commission. And then the applicant also will continue to meet all applicable state, federal laws, codes, rules approved by the city of any application submitted or paperwork does not relieve the owners and or their agents from their responsibility to understand and conform to local, state, and federal laws. Providence City's approval is not intended to and cannot be construed to allow any laws to be violated. So that's in a nutshell.
Perfect.
All
Thank
right.
you. That was a mouthful. Anybody, any questions or clarifications from Scarlett? Before we let her go.
Scarlett, there's no subdivision at this point, no discussion of subdivision, we don't need to do that. It's strictly a rezone, right?
Strictly a reason. In fact, really, we can't consider a concept plan until we know what zone they need to design it to. So the rezone has to come first.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Thank you, Scarlett.
Yep.
Danny, we appreciate it. Invite you to come on up and for the record, if you would state your name for us.
Yeah, Danny McFarland. So thank you for letting me talk for a minute. So, so really what I'm proposing is just a more affordable solution for lots and homes. These would be lots that I would develop and then we build the homes also. We think with the R16 zoning, we could deliver lots somewhere in the $80,000 to $100,000 price point. Cheapest lots here in Providence right now, they're fully developed. I think they're in the 160 to 170 range. And the next, there's one of those. The next lot after that's 200 plus. We think we can deliver homes on this property, new homes for the 300 to 325 range. Cheapest home for sale right now in Providence is upper 400s, 500,000. So that are comparable. So we really feel like this is something that could be a win. It fits zoning wise with, the mountain view to the west and to the north, the east and Brookside. We just really feel like there's a better use. Infill development, I'm a big believer in infill development. I mean, if you could get, four hookups on that one parcel, it's going to be a great thing for the city because you're utilizing the utilities 4 ways, getting 4 hookups in the same, width of roadway utilities. In a nutshell, that's kind of the vision.
Can I ask a question? It was probably in there. I didn't
Yes.
see it. How much acreage are we talking?
1 acre.
1 acre.
Yep, there's one home in the middle. So an old home was built in 1859.
Okay. So we're really looking at basically 4 lots versus maybe
I think if it stayed single family traditional, we could get 3.
3.
I think if it was the R112,
Yeah.
if it was R16, it would be 5 potentially. So an
So
increase
3
of
versus
2.
5.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody other questions?
Do you envision that it would need to be like interblock development, like, or a flag lot to get people behind, or how?
Yeah, I mean, it would be, just what's allowed in the code, you know, I think there's two lots can share a private drive. There'd probably be 2 lots in the rear, the parcel, 2 up front, and then the existing home.
Brian, is there a way that we could bring up like the aerial map around where this is?
Yeah.
Yeah,
County map, the county, GIS.
the houses, yeah, there. Yeah. Thank you.
The other one that I think we're gonna look at is the current zoning map as well.
Okay,
I can overlay that.
This has a overlay feature for that, Joe, so
So it would be
I'm sorry, because there's,
going to the,
what's in the GIS?
that's
It's not considered current.
160 FSH high.
I'm sorry, what?
What's in
I thought that's what
the
the
mapping and the
Yeah, so that's
zoning that's
okay,
showing in the
So I'm just curious,
GIS?
I'm looking at
That's current, isn't it?
what is,
That's
what's
something that
around it. It looks like these were all big.
People in
All of
the
these were
province
big.
would go to and trust that
It's really
pretty
just
close
these that
to
are smaller. isn't it?
actual.
We send them updates when we make changes. And they're pretty quick to make those changes, but you have to remember, they always put that disclaimer on the county's map that says to contact the cities,
Right.
so.
Yeah. What is that right there?
so this is multifamily,
Yeah, that's a good illustration right there.
so it's in line with everything here.
Interesting that the last development we were talking about was just to the north.
Yeah,
Not that it's relevant, but it just is interesting that
I mean, so this is what I was describing. You have single family
Tradition.
high to the east and to the north, and then you have the multifamily R, which is actually more dense than what we're proposing to the west.
Yeah, it seems to fit the area.
and this is a piece of property, so.
That one right there.
The pink is the nursing home or the.
No, those are the senior
Is what it is.
Mountain View.
Then there are doubles and triples.
The assisted living center is in that development.
Yeah, you're right. The area adjacent to this parcel are the attached senior living.
Single family tradition.
Then they don't.
So the new one would be to the single family high, right?
Yeah.
Right,
Thank you.
Nate, the mayor, the old mayor.
That's right.
Yes.
There you
Right.
go.
He lives
Right.
down there.
Mhm.
Okay, which would be what's all around there. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you. Okay,
Have you looked at the house at all, or had anybody tell you anything about the historical?
Are you keeping the house?
Yeah, keeping the house. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Historical committee?
we're gonna keep it. We haven't,
Oh, you're gonna keep the
Yeah.
the current house?
yeah.
You're not leveling it to build and redesign it, just a subdivision, you're keeping it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't have any value.
it's actually, I walked through it, it's actually a really cute house. I mean, they've done a really nice job of keeping it up and I think, you know,
Cool.
it's well done. I mean, the challenge is it's 1 bathroom, it's 1890 house, so 4 bedrooms, 1 bath, but, you know, it's very habitable. So we're getting rid of the trailer, the mobile home, if that makes you feel any better.
I didn't see that.
Makes me feel a lot better every time.
Maybe that's why we get a few more in there.
No,
No,
Oh.
when we came to this valley 20 some odd years ago, we went out looking for an old home to live in, and we found one, but I can't tell you how many old homes there are out there that are perfect for rehabbing, that sit next to a trailer,
oh, really?
almost 90% of them.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know why, but,
You're gonna,
so, no, I don't particularly think that we would.
Yeah.
you're gonna have those rascals to the north with those huge porches.
I know, it's a real concern.
Okay. All right.
Our porches won't stick into the right way, so. There's a setback, I promise.
Anybody, any other questions, concerns?
Oh, we had one,
Uh,
we did have a
comment?
public.
Okay,
You want to read that?
would please.
This is an email comment from Don Calderwood. Since granting this rezone takes lot sizes from 12,000 to 6,000 square feet, which dramatically reduces the size of the home, as well as the adjoining transportation corridors and other related recommendations relative to the 12,000 feet and safety and compatibility, and the general plan anticipates for the future of this zone to remain R-1-12, I recommend this rezone request be denied. In addition, it would be feasible for the commission to identify in dollar amount their definition of moderate and/or affordable and correspond that range with the developer. Even though a prior council in 2020 adopted a moderate income plan relative to our state's request, not a requirement, and the city of Providence is very far ahead of such an implementation relative to neighboring cities, consider the effect of such crowded habitation relative to our present recommended zone in the general plan. Are the COVID-19 local assistance matching grants as well as a supposed priority consideration, not an outright denial, really relative?
I comment on that a little bit here. One, Mr. Caldwell doesn't live anywhere near this, and I think he lives on a pretty small lot. I haven't checked his size, but I don't think $325,000 house, last I checked, in a couple of years, would fit even in a moderate or affordable category for the median income here in Providence, but it's quite a bit less.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, it's getting to be, we're pushing it as low as we can push it, so.
And basically, by making this change, we're looking to get 5 lots on there. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Mhm.
And that's including the existing. ones.
Yeah, so 4 new,
Or additional.
yeah. I mean, we don't even have a concept plan put
Yeah,
together, but
it would be interesting to see how that's gonna look. It's almost like you have 2 now with the trailer house, you know, that kind of thing sitting there.
Sure.
Certainly trim out around the thing, and that's probably what people are looking at when you look at some of the sizes of the things right around it.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, you look at those attached homes in the pink, I mean,
Yeah,
they're essentially be detached and one on each corner in the rear.
yeah,
Kind of gives you
yeah,
a relative size, I guess.
yeah. If
There are
you,
also lots that are 0.24, 0.48, you know, adjacent to.
Yeah.
I mean, across the street, you've got 2 sides, but you've also got 2 other sides that are in the zoning, the existing zoning that the general plan calls for.
yeah, of the single family traditional, is that what you're saying, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, if you go on the GIS and choose the lots that are across the street,
Right,
you've got, that lot's 0.24, the next one is 0.23, the next one's 0.33. The adjacent lot is 0.43 to this lot. And the one next to that to the south is 0.32, so, I mean, you know,
well, and our next step is to determine if this should move forward, to give a chance for the public to provide input. Is that correct?
No, actually, he has a valid application, so your
To
next step
rezone
is,
it.
right, but you don't have to recommend after you hold the public hearing.
Yeah.
You can make whatever recommendation you want, but it does need to go through the process.
the next step would be set up for a public hearing.
Yes.
This is just a study session.
Okay, I thought we were gonna recommend, or the next step was to recommend to.
So the next step would be to hold a public hearing
Right.
and then to get public comment. This is kind of a first introductory. We like to introduce it and say, okay, and one for you to get some information before a public hearing is held. But it also gives you an opportunity to look at the property, to go out, to say, okay, if I were to look at this, does another one make sense? You could ask and say, hey, would you consider X, Y, or Z? And we've seen those other things. And in this kind of a dialogue, it's kind of a ability to fill out and say, well, how firm are you? You know, do we want to take this to a public hearing, or is there is there a lot of hesitation? If there's a lot of hesitation, maybe work to see what a good, I mean, I'm not looking to have you compromise. That's not my point, but you could get into some of those kind of things, some of the new ones. So this is a preparation for that public hearing. He has a valid application. It will go to a public hearing, but your opportunity is to get yourself acquainted with it before you have a house full of residents to give you a good earful. If this isn't right, then you could say, hey, would you consider this and this? And let's see how that might work out. But the next step would be the public hearing. Does that make sense?
At that public hearing, knowing that being the next step, you know, the first thing everybody's gonna ask is, what are you gonna do? What's it gonna look like? You know, we went through this with another piece of property. It was, we just want to change the zoning. Just what it is, we want to change it to this. But what are you gonna do with it if we do that? That's what everybody wanted to see. And I think that's probably what would happen here. So would you come with some options? Would you look at that, or are you gonna, you know, does he have to present anything?
No.
I don't think he has to.
I mean,
I don't think he has to
I think
before.
it's somewhat of a disservice at a rezone because it's leading a little bit to bring options and things, because I'm not bound, I mean, other than, you know,
Right.
these are some options, you know, and that's kind of, I mean, in years I've been doing this, we try to shy away from that, but
Okay.
I mean, single family homes, so I guess I have a track record myself. and
Yes.
We're delivering, I
Yeah.
think, the next Century Meter building. I sat right here with you and we went
Yeah.
through that subdivision behind Macy's and
Right.
we delivered beautiful townhomes, and that,
Yeah.
I think next Century Meter building is gonna be probably the best building in the valley.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, so. I really
Well,
do.
then
Best one in the.
Maybe outside of the Camp Shield, they do very nice buildings. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's pretty amazing. So.
The units,
No, I'm talking about the next Century Meters office building that's going in, it's just starting construction.
okay, just started.
Yeah,
I've been watching the apartments there.
Yeah, the commercial building.
this is a commercial building,
It's
yeah,
the one next to it.
yeah, south of it, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
okay, well, it's gonna be the best, I'll watch it.
We delivered on our promises there, and we have,
Yeah.
I mean, but I
Well-
can, if you would like. I can
Well,
bring-
it's not a question for us. I guess the only reason why I bring it up is if you'll move along, I think, a lot better if you have their support, you know, their buy-in to it, in a sense. That you might say, you know, by doing this, I could be it's allowing me to have this many. I may choose to have that many. I may choose to have something less. I just have to look at it. I'm not bound by anything I should. I just know that before it just caused a great deal of anxiety and resentment and then the other thing too is that people may say, yeah, well, Danny's done a lot of things and it always turns out great, so we're just going to believe this is what is going to
Yeah.
happen again.
You know, I don't know
So-
if that's what people think, but I mean, I can bring, I mean, just some elevations of some homes,
I'm
maybe, you
gonna
know.
disagree with Michael because we can disagree on this because maybe I'm not gonna tell you how to sell this thing to the public, but the public is gonna come in, you know what it's gonna say and how they're gonna act.
Well,
And it's gonna be a little bit of a challenge
you
for
think
you.
it will with single family?
I think it's gonna be, anything that's downsized, anything that's smaller, yeah, they're gonna be some pushback.
Well, likely there was pushback to the rezone of the one to the north, right? I mean, that's
It's a natural thing.
if you're new and haven't seen that one, that's one to go back and watch to see, just as a learning. It's not relevant as much to this one. That was a different size, the 55 plus.
Yeah.
There are differences, but there was, and there will be similar concerns, I'm sure, as you mentioned.
And I'm not gonna tell you how to do this, but if you were selling yourself, you might want to do that a little bit. Because I have a hard time considering any future plans on any property. You know, inner block development we did not long ago up on Second South. They've sold that property already. And she came to us, we went through it, took about 6 months or something. She had these plans and she was, she wasn't really experienced at it. She had all these plans and laying out the roads and all this stuff, and it all looked really great. And then, a couple months later, she put it on the market. I don't know if she's sold it or not yet, but it's a perfect example. What can be done now with that property? Well, they've got it could be developed any way anybody wants to. But if Danny comes before us, and Danny's got this idea here that he wants to invest his money in, then great. I'll be behind you on that rezoning. But it's a dangerous thing to put any kind of thing, anything on the paper, because then they just come back the next time and they want to do the same thing, and it's like it doesn't matter what you do with it. Is Danny? What's Danny going to do to it? Well, it's according to Danny, and we can't ask you to have both.
Sure, I mean, it would fit within the zoning of
Right.
of an R16. I mean, I guess that's kind of what I would probably say, which
Well,
6,000 square foot lots, which is just the
And-
same as what you have around
and
three sides of it.
what
So,
just mentioning a few of the other projects
yeah,
to show that you've got this is what I hoped for in these, and this is what came about.
sure. I mean, I've done townhomes and single family lots and
Lots of them in progress.
offices. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
probably done 150 lots.
Probably more important.
We have another 100 lots to go, but I mean, all the lots that we've developed have been quarter acre lots. It's not sustainable. Like, my kids will not be able to afford to live in Providence. And so this is my kind of experiment, to be honest, with doing something that could be better going forward.
Yeah.
And so if it works, then I'm gonna go find another subdivision and do it again. So
So how many acres do you propose these lots will be?
this is 1 acre.
It's
But
1
each-
acre.
So it would be,
Oh, the minimum would be 6,000 square feet. and
okay.
They probably would be closer to 7.
So I would just like to, pair it, not to choose sides, you guys. But I just think the more transparent you can be with the public, the better.
Mhm.
If they see, again, we do sometimes get caught up on the plan, and this isn't the plan, but then we argue about the plan and,
Sure,
and things like that. But I think it does help the public a little if they can envision what you're envisioning.
okay,
So we can see, well, what are the flag lots? Are they gonna be flag lots? And then that kind of can help you plan your setbacks. And I think it can move the process forward a little, maybe a
Sure.
little more.
I agree with what you're saying. It comes at a risk of, getting cart before the horse, start talking about too many details, setbacks and things of that nature at a rezone that's presumptuous, but I mean, I agree with you that it can be,
We just want to see your
Illustrative.
dream.
Yeah.
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 Even if it will fit in the bill, I just
Sure.
think the more transparent you can, the better the process.
So you now agree with him, me, and my brother.
well,
That's okay.
Building it-
That's fine.
isn't that what we're trying to do in America?
Well, I think what we're trying to do is, I think the idea tonight is, let's look at the ideas, see the direction you want to head, and just give you some feedback and ideas, which has come from experience a little bit and that kind of thing. And the last thing I would say is just have multiple packets.
Okay,
So that if they say, we've got to see what it looks like, you can pull something out, really rough. If it goes,
Sure.
start off with Brian's thing, and then worst case scenario, you can say, well, Shelley said this is how I should do it. So the way you get everybody involved.
that's right. So let me ask you, on the 55 plus rezone, like, how many people showed up? I mean, I don't anticipate a lot of public.
I think it filled the room.
Did it really?
Some of the ones that were drainage, they had a litany of issues. I think you'd be surprised that one filled the room. Some of them have, I don't know.
Yes, Scarlett?
I just have one request, because I lean down on the side that when they bring in a plan and they present that plan, there's no guarantee that plan has not been reviewed. We have no, as far as staff goes, we have absolutely no comment when it comes to the plans that they bring in. So as long as everybody remembers that there's been no review on it, we don't guarantee that it meets the ordinances. We don't guarantee that that's the plan that will be built. That's, when you talk about transparent, bringing in a plan that nobody has reviewed is maybe not as transparent as what it seems to be in the beginning. So just so long as everybody keeps that in mind, that if he does bring something, it has not had any kind of vetting through staff.
Yeah, I mean, but I think to kind of start with the point, yes, it's true, and I agree with that. I think on the Providence City Center, you asked for the same thing.
Right.
And we brought in that color rendering.
Yeah, you did.
And it's gonna look
Yeah.
almost exactly like that.
Great.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it helps to see a vision.
Well, I think you gotta follow your gut. You do what you think is best. I think,
I'm hungry.
okay, we'll bring sandwiches for everyone.
There's chocolate. There's chocolate.
Right there. And the real question before us is as we move forward with this, is to get feedback from that, but would we move forward on the request to change the zoning, which could allow five units, or keep it where it is, or would we allow for 3?
We make a recommendation. And that's all it is.
Yeah, just a recommendation.
It goes to the city council.
After we hear from the public, right?
Yeah.
And I just think maybe this is something that we may want to discuss, in just our process. And, you know, I know it has flip-flopped in the past. We used to do a plan first before, you know, the rezoning, and then there were issues, but it seems like something that it does come up often, and it might be worth, you know, just looking into the way that we do actually go about, you know.
I was finishing up on a house out in the middle of nowhere down by Command. And there was about 12 neighbors. They came out a couple weeks ago, and they asked me, who's moving into this house? Are you moving into it? I said, no. I said, I think it might be an older couple. I said, okay. And I said, it could be a younger couple. And they said, well, you're of no use to me, are you? And I said, no, but I know somebody's going to move in. So maybe that'll work for you.
Okay, thank you for all your advice.
Thank you. So,
Wow.
anybody,
You
anything else?
give some advice.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Appreciate it. So Tyler, I guess we will move forward with the public hearing, and you'll get something scheduled.
That's what we're looking at the calendar, trying to decide.
We're looking at the calendar, seeing that whether it be the 2 weeks, or whether we could hit that, or whether it would be the February. So
Okay.
we're kind of looking at that, but at that point,
Yeah.
we'll schedule it for the, when we can. And
Sounds good.
Well, Scarlett, will we see the sandwich boards in front of the property again?
Yeah.
Great. That's appropriate on this one.
And thank you. And at that time, like Joe was saying, we would make a recommendation, and then it goes to the city. So, super. Okay. If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to close our meeting.
let me just indicate one thing. I'm gonna be out of town February 16th for about a little bit over 2 weeks, so I won't be able to attend any meetings. I could possibly by Zoom, but what I'm doing, it makes it impractical.
From the 16th to like the 28th, you're gone?
Well, the 16th of February to about March 4th.
Oh, okay. But the first meeting in February,
Yeah, I'll be here.
Disneyland?
What?
Disneyland? You can make us guess?
No, it's my 47th wedding anniversary, and I know I look young, but, you know, married at 12.
Uh-huh.
So enjoy your vacation. Full board here.
I would.
Married 11 years when I was born.
Are you the public coming for public comment time?
We're a little late, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Comment.
You've finished your agenda, so.
Visitors, you're all done?
Yes.
You should come teach the council how to do that.
Well, you guys are just set mentally on a 3 to 4 hour meeting.
Did we get a full motion?
No, we
I don't
didn't get
think
it.
No, we haven't got any.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Have a motion from Shelley to adjourn. Second from Brian, all in favor?
Aye.